Welcome back. Today I'm making persillade, and this is better known as a garlic butter, but in actual fact it's got a lot of parsley in it. So I've got here some softened butter, and you can see you can use whatever quantity you want, because what you don't use, you wrap it up and put it in the fridge, and you can use it over the next 3 or 4 days. It's a really good thing to have. It goes in baked potatoes, it goes in, and I will be making a video later on with it, which is why I'm making this one, and that will be with mussels, mools. You've probably had them where they're served open with a sort of garlic butter. Well, this is the garlic butter they use, but if you were to take this when we finish with it, take some of it and mix it with a drained tin of mackerel, which you squidge up, or sardine fillets, you've now got something to spread on toast. It's so useful. So all I'm going to do is to chop a big pile of garlic. Okay. Well, it just took too long, so I've used a little electric thing, but you could grate it because you want it fairly fine. This is the amount of garlic you probably need, quite a bit. This is a violet as in the colour, garlic, and I find that has a better flavour. They do giant garlic cloves that there's this sort of size, elephant garlic it's called over here, but they're more like a vegetable. They are so mild that they're not really what you want. So just be aware that sometimes if you buy very small little cloves, they're quite powerful. So you need to think about the type of garlic and how garlicky you want your sauce. If you've made it too garlicky, just add some more butter. And if you want it to be softer and easier, and you've got a very cold room, add a little bit of olive oil to it. You can do a lot with cooking that just makes your life easy. I've got here salt, that sort of quantity. This is ground up sea salt, and it's pretty good. Now, I'm mixing that in. It's quite a salty product because you don't use very much of it. So you need the flavour of the salt. I softened this by putting my blobs of butter in this bowl, which is a Pyrex type bowl, goes in heated areas, and putting it in the microwave for a couple of seconds. In fact, I think it was 5 seconds. Pepper. There are a variety of peppers, but it doesn't matter which pepper you use. They'll all come out slightly differently, and everyone will have their own preference. But I really suggest that you don't do big chunks. You do a very fine mix of pepper. You really want it ground to a powder, not to a grit. There we are. So you can see when you mix it in, you'll start to see the pepper, and of course you're bound to smell it from this distance. There you are. This recipe is quite fluid. You can change things quite a bit, but one of the things you need to be aware of is that it's no longer the bright shiny yellow that we started with, and you need persil. And in France you often find that your garlic and your persil are always served together. It's almost like salt and pepper. The two go together. And you need a lot of it, really. And you need the top ends. And I picked this up yesterday, and by the time I got home, because it was quite a hot journey, by the time I got home, it was beginning to sag. So one of the things that works really well is to put it into a vase of water, cut the tips off and put the whole thing in, and it revives it. Now, I would like it cut much finer than this. Some of the fish restaurants are inclined to leave it in pieces this sort of size, so it looks smart. But I think you get little bits in your teeth. So I like it almost to a paste. And I, having done this, will be putting it back in my little grinder. Now, the reason I've chopped it anyway is because I find that because it's got stems, and even if they're little stems, they wind themselves around this tiny little blade. So it's just because of the limitations of my grinder. But I'm sure, I'll show you something else I've got. This does a rocking action. And if you had patience, you can, there you are, you can see it's gone a lot smaller in a few chops compared to that. Well, you want it smaller than that, but I actually prefer the paste look. Now, this is how I like it, but that doesn't mean you will. It really is tiny little fragments. I find that the flavour comes out quicker into the butter. And there we are. There, you can start to see it building up now in colour. Now, I like a lot of this because I've put a lot of, let me explain. I'm making it quite strong so that you can dilute it with oil or with more softened butter, and you have less stuff to store in the fridge. For my fish, I will put this on. Then I'm going to put a little tiny bits of oil or butter on top of that. And it means that it's more versatile. But if you want it for just the things that people usually use, you roll it into a tube shape using cling film. And the reason they do that is because it stores as a sausage, a long narrow sausage, and you can cut slices and they make huge quantities. But although this looks very green, I like the freshness of this, so I will be doing twice as much again. So in fact, as you can see, I've used the best part of half the bunch. And there you are, your persillade. Now I'm just going to show you how to make it smaller. For storage in the fridge, I don't use that great big bowl. I take this and I take okay. Now you can see how soft it is, but once this has been in the fridge, it is a fabulous chunk of flavoured butter. And you slice it, you can leave this on it, okay? And by doing that, you can just lift it out and then you've got literally a disc to use. And that makes it really tasty. These are fresh, good ingredients. It's really so simple. And yes, I did spend maybe 10 minutes and a couple of minutes to tidy it all up, but it tastes so much better than the one you buy made with lots of chemicals. I promise. And then lots of people are very clever and they can grow this in the garden. I've got a friend who does that and gives it to us. This particular bunch I picked up, but I find that it bolts very quickly into seed, but it is a worth growing type thing. So I will be using this in my next recipe that goes out, which is those very expensive looking mussels where you get 6 on a plate and they're open and they're hot. And everyone has them as starter at some very expensive restaurant. But they're dirt cheap, promise. And it's a really good thing to do. Enjoy.